let's dive in. I think we got a lot to talk about this week. A bunch of smaller articles. I guess maybe just to top off, this was actually pretty good, but it's also, I don't know, like water's wet. I didn't realize it took an FTC report to figure this one out. But basically, they looked into the major ISPs, which is like your Charter or your Spectrum, basically Verizon, Google Fiber, T-Mobile, and Comcast. I guess probably are those six. And well, who knew they have a monopoly on basically the entire internet connectivity market? And what do they do with that dominant position? They basically suck up all your data and use it in a lot of different ways, and don't make it easy for you to be able to opt out. And yeah, I mean, basically just everything we kind of knew. But I mean, I think it's a good thing the FTC finally shedding light on what is ultimately the pipes that go into everybody, right? We're all talking about constantly Facebook or Google or websites and services that we access, and we say that those are kind of the more nefarious actors. But ultimately, it's the pipes that are coming into your home or your business, which is what these ISPs provide. And at that level, there's a deep amount of tracking and analysis and basically surveillance that's happening, which I hope opens, I guess, or shed some light on the situation a little bit better, because they can track everything. I mean, the websites are just top level, but this is every bit of information, every website, every query, research, everything, all that data that you're sending in and out, back and forth. The ISP has control of it. So arguably, I would say they're the worst actors in basically the entire world, to put it lightly. But what did you guys think of this? I mean, we know a lot about them, but happy to hear what you guys think too.
I'm really glad FTC is jumping into it. I think that's a good positive thing, and a lot of people, or at least hopefully, a lot of people will take notice. We knew that they were collecting all this information. We knew that they are sharing this with third parties, selling the browsing data and whatnot. Some people may not know the correlated data, where they're combining your browsing history with your TVs along with your location, and then selling that data. Because, in other words, ISPs are data brokers. That, and if you think they're not, maybe I have rich to sell. But that is the reality. Now, the real worst, where it gets maddening is, you're paying them for a service, and then they're making money off of it. They're using that data you're getting out of it to make money in additional ways. Yeah, so they are obviously double dipping in like many other vendors in the technology industry, and which is not a good sign. That the trust factor goes away with this. So there are other things where you do not have an easy way to get out, which the FTC finds, and which we all know there is no easy way to get out. The second aspect to that is, they say that, and FTC found that, they say that they are selling this information not just to ad companies, but sometimes to unrelated businesses. And that is where the second and third level consequences of selling this data to unrelated parties is unknown. It'll come and bite us a little later.
Well, I like this a little better. That's the thing about all this. It doesn't seem like it takes a whole lot of skills, so to speak, to piece together your data. It may be going in all these different directions, and one service gets a little piece of this data, another service gets a little piece of that data, and then another piece of data. But it seems like it's getting pretty easy for these folks to connect these data spots up and get all your data, and not just get it once. It's like a perpetual stream. It's not a snapshot. It's basically your life as you live it, and that's the thing that really, as great as this technology that we have, and we love it, and it provides us opportunities to do a lot of really cool things, and to experience a lot of cool things. And it entices us to do even more. That just creates more data for these brokers to collect and sell. And it's just I feel like I'm starting off already on the downslope, but it's just it's one of those things where every week we seem to find different stories of how these companies are giving us a little something but taking a lot more than what we think.
Yeah, a couple of things, based on the browsing patterns, they are also building behavioral profiles out there, which ad companies love. Then there are other aspects to it, which is they're so-called affiliates. They're working with affiliates to get additional information, be it from email or other communication data and others, which frankly I did not uh, appreciate and did not know. And they are using that information to build profiles and then through ads and whatnot. And I wouldn't be surprised if they are ad providers themselves, because at the end of the day they own the distribution channel out here, and they use this information and add their own platform. So on top of other data brokers, and then other monopolies or duopolies like Google and Facebook, we have ISPs acting as an important data broker that are also trying to get into this ad business. That the culprit really is that ad business because of the money in there. I wonder if we'll reach a point where the because you have to question, where is all this ad money coming from? It's product companies and services companies trying to offer, and there could be a point where there might be a pushback. We don't know when that will come, but wonder how will it be when if there is an alternative model to advertising.
I mean, I- 9 times soon, because ultimately advertising, I wouldn't call it free money, but basically that's what it is. It's an easy way to add an additional revenue stream to a business model, and why not, right? I mean, you got nothing to lose basically. And so, I don't know, some fundamental change has to happen in order for that to happen. I guess I don't want to say like the ISPs are, tracking you so there's no hope at all. I would say one thing, maybe just a tip for people that watch is you should definitely, one of the first things I do almost even on my phones and computers is if you have like your home internet or whatever, you should change your DNS providers. Probably Cloudflare has a good one. I think 1.1.1.1, where you can change things. And there's some privacy centric ones you can find online. But basically, a very short explainer is like DNS is what converts like an IP address into a website. And basically, it's like a phone book for websites, if you will. So it converts a phone number to a name, which is essentially what's happening. And so by default, your home router or whatever, it's using, AT&T's or Comcast or whatever, their service to use that lookup. And every time you look something up, they track it. So if you change your DNS provider, that provides a first line of defense in terms of a little bit of privacy. And I think Cloudflare has like a family one as well, where it'll block certain websites and things like that. But if you search online for like DNS change home internet, you'll find a good amount of tutorials and websites that have some information there. So I think that's a good takeaway, at least, or an action item people can do at least.
And I also don't go with the router or Wi-Fi thing they provide, because that's an easy way. You're basically adding their device in your home and giving them complete access to that. And the so-called bundling of TV and internet is something I don't do. Well, you're making it easy. They don't even have to be a data provider. They are basically aggregating everything, and or you're aggregating everything and offering your data in a platter. So things like that can be done. And also, they have this service where once you have your Wi-Fi network go through their router, you'll be able to log into their networks anywhere, anywhere in town or maybe in the country is what they promote. But that certainly gives them information on your location, and they build up the profile based on that. So these are things to watch out.
And all these things that you just pointed out, I think most people, when they sign up for an ISP, and the offer is either it's offered and encouraged, just use our technology, our devices, we'll get you set up easy, You don't have to worry about anything. And it sounds so great. I mean, a lot of folks are not really tech savvy, and they don't even know about routers and wireless routers and modems. So the offer to have the company, do that and, free, I think most people just take it up as, oh, this is great. It's going to save me having to, figure this stuff out. But the other end of that is just what you said. It's like, putting almost like putting a camera, a security camera in your house, which you really don't know how the security camera works because you've never really thought about it. You just say everybody else has one. I guess I better have one too.
Mhm.
And then you kind of open the door for a lot of things that you just didn't think about because it's presented in a way to make it easier for you to use this stuff.
I don't even think it's always free. So I've heard stories both ways where an ISP will charge people $10 a month or whatever for using their router, and I've also seen ISPs charge $5, $10 a month for not using their equipment, for like bringing your own equipment. It's like a surcharge, so it's like it's a
Wow.
lose lose. But yeah,
Think about
basically,
that.
like Roger.
They pay you to use their tool, and then they take the data and do whatever it is they want with the data.
Yeah.
Brent, just like you paid for a lot of Alexa devices.
It always comes back. Oh my god! All right, should we be moving along at this point?
Yeah, that's fine. We'll talk about a different what do you call smart home assistant made by Google. And so I didn't think that this got nearly enough press that it probably should have. Probably because it's
Yeah,
like unsubstantiated, or maybe it hasn't really been fully fleshed out. But I mean, there are court documents that got unsealed. So, I mean, it's pretty. I would say it's not like hearsay or anything like that. But it has our four favorite friends: Apple, Facebook, Microsoft, Google, all the big hitters. Sorry, we can't call it Facebook anymore. Meta is going to be how we refer to these fellas from now on, and maybe even Alphabet. And I think it just shows that the fact that we're calling it Google still in the article title shows that nobody cares about a parent company name change. It doesn't. It's still referred to as Google. I don't think I've ever seen an article that starts with Alphabet sought fellow tech giants help installing. Right? Like nobody. Beyond the point. Basically, I mean, this was all about basically just everything bad, I would say. But they came up with some sort of coordinated effort to try to, I would say, steer regulation in terms of children's privacy a certain way, and they tried to get Facebook on board. I think there was a really good Twitter thread actually too. I don't know if you have that as well, Brent. Um, that kind of summarizes a lot of the topics, sensationalized a little bit. But yeah, I mean, basically, this guy comes through faster than lime, and he finds all sorts of stuff. So I think the next tweet is basically they got a secret deal with Facebook called Jedi Blue. That was so illegal that it has a whole section describing how they'll cover for each other. G Trade artificially dedicated to ad market manipulation, which I think is a big thing we can go into a deep dive for because there's a lot that goes there that people don't really understand. And then the Project Nero thing was with Microsoft, I believe. And oh no, Project Nero was something about a walled garden or something like that, where basically they force your Chrome browser to, or not force, but they encourage strongly to connect it with your Google account. And just like fire after fire, this guy's posting the summary posts of, based on the data that was unsealed. But I mean, each one of these can have a pretty deep dive on its own. But what was your favorite violation that you found?
Yeah, I
what a
mean,
great.
frankly, none of these surprise me at this point. Google is no longer trying to pretend to be the do no evil company it used to be, right? That's way back in the history. So it's going all in towards milking whatever it can in the ad industry. You've seen their quarterly results this week, and it's
Yeah.
going all in that. Yeah, Google
Mhm.
is just like Facebook, morally bankrupt. I don't see which one's worse. I don't know which one's worse. It's a flip of a coin for me. But yeah, all of these are frankly expected from Google from my side.
I'll just throw some numbers up because Roger, you mentioned numerous times as we do these episodes how ad being an ad business and any other kind of business and privacy just doesn't mix. And once you kind of dip your toe in the ad lane, you kind of become addicted to it. And I think Amazon reported 8 billion in revenue in their revenue category that is mostly advertising, which is up 49% year over year. And Google reported YouTube brought in 7.2 billion in ads in the third quarter, up 43%. So while everything else was, other parts of the business seem to be slowing down, and you saw the impact it's having on everybody basically. And stock prices are getting just taken out. Ad business is doing pretty good, for Facebook and Amazon at least.
I mean, 8 billion is not a small amount by any means. And generally speaking, I don't even think that many people realize how important ads is to Amazon. Most people think of Amazon just shopping and maybe AWS if they're fairly inclined, but the ad market is what they're really pushing for. And obviously white label products, but white label products is not a big revenue driver. Ads is really what takes them a lot, because basically companies have to bid against Amazon for products that Amazon makes that compete against the other person's product. It's quite the circle that they got going on there.
Can I call an audible? And since we're talking a little bit about this, right before we got started, we had this article come out from the information folks. Amazon and Roku gird for battle over viewer data and latest streaming drama. And, Roku is like by far the leader in these streaming desktop or TV top devices. I saw where they have 39% of the market, but so they're selling devices. But what they're really doing well in is converting those sales of devices into people watching content. Some of that content, of course, is coming from all these other services like Amazon, and Netflix, and whatever. So although they sell devices, they make $500,000 500 million on ad revenue. And so this article points out that Amazon and Roku are starting to, they're partners, but for how long? Because they're starting to butt heads, and it's not on the money, it's about on the viewer data. Like Amazon wants more of it. I think I have here. Amazon is expected to press for more detailed data about what TV shows Roku customers watch, and Roku doesn't want to give it up. Just give it to them.
Yeah,
it all comes back to the data. It all comes back to our data and the impact that data can have on driving ad revenue. It's really interesting.
During the last, say, decade and a half, the wild success of Google led to a lost decade in innovative business models. Now everyone's getting into ads because there's money there. That's where the good old model of selling device and just keeping your customer happy, just that alone no longer works. Now you have to make money in alternative ways and continue showing profits and growth and whatnot, and that keeps going. And there are multiple angles to it, a financial angle to it and whatnot. But I think we have had a last decade of innovative business models, and I hope things changes. I don't see anything on the horizon, but things have to change. Otherwise, all the smart people are going towards figuring out how to make people click on ads, and that's not a productive thing.
Yeah,
return on attention, right?
Yeah, Roku's always been. Roger said a couple episodes back, but about how Google's an ads company that happens to make search or whatever, and Roku's, I think first and foremost, has always been an ads company that happens to make devices that they sell at a loss, hopefully to recoup it later. So it's hard to compete with like a $50 stick that they make. It's pretty solid, but we see all these big platforms, Apple, Amazon, Google, making their own streaming devices specifically for this reason, right? So they can control everything about not just their own video platforms, but other video platforms that people are watching as well. So yeah, I don't know how to really do it. Maybe the best thing is I still think an Apple TV is probably the best way, but I'm sure there's it's not like Apple doesn't do ads like we talked about last week too. So there's not really a really good one. But good news, I guess we'll go flip back and forth. States toughening up on privacy laws for at-home DNA tests. This is a very dark path, because I don't think people realize what actually happens when you do like 23andMe or Ancestry.com or one of these websites where you have these DNA tests. You do like a swab, and it'll tell you your genealogy or something like that. That's supposedly accurate, and the amount of data that you're giving up, what kind of information goes into a database. It also, I'm pretty sure, goes into government databases like police and stuff like that. And so a lot of that data is opt-in. And so I'm glad that they're trying to toughen up these privacy laws a little bit. I think there's some details on one of the slides here, right? Yeah, so basically requires customers to give consent before genetic data can be used for scientific research or shared with a third party. Shared with a third party shouldn't even be the case, right? Like, goes back to what Roger was talking about, business models. Like, just give me the information and charge me more and end it there, right? I mean, the sharing with third parties is unnecessary, and I don't think people realize that's exactly what happens, and how these at-home DNA tests make a good chunk of their money.
Yeah, I mean, this is one level deeper than what we historically talked about, which is, biometric. Now they're going all the way to DNA and linking that to ads. How worse can it get, right? So it's crazy. And the other use cases, there are some decent, valid use cases out there, but again, that's a minority. You're using that 1 or 2% of valid use cases, and using that as an excuse for the other 98%. And now where this will end up in 5-10 years.
Hey, I just wanted to circle back because Thomas Weavernight has given us a few good, interesting comments going back to the ISP thing. Xfinity is more expensive if you do not also rent their mode. So they're going to get you either way, but it seems, far be it for me to say that seems like a bad move. But if you really want the data, why wouldn't you just give up the little device? Why? That's just being greedy at this point. That's the way I look at it. If you really, because you're going to get more money if you from beyond the $4 or $5 a month you're going to charge. That's just being greedy. Just take my data and let me have my $5 at least. Don't make me give you both. That's just greedy.
It'll be very obvious in that case, Brent. They don't want it to be obvious.
They're smart. They're in the immortal words of Michael Jackson. So you're telling me they're smooth criminals, and they're trying to do that. All right, I get it.
Yeah, his Thomas's second comment was interesting. I didn't realize this happens. In Austin, or maybe in Texas in general. I don't think we really have Comcast as an internet provider. Just the way that these guys divvied up like regions and stuff like that. But I assume he's referring to private relay being the new Apple feature and not being compatible with their services. That seems kind of problematic, if you ask me. I'm surprised that hasn't picked up a little bit more steam, because I can't imagine Apple would be happy about that, and it kind of seems like it would go against something in terms of interoperability, and just kind of maybe even along the lines of net neutrality. Like, everything should just kind of be able to work.
I mean, I believe the mail providers have to support private relay, and there could be some challenges there. So, which means Apple has to work with every mail server or mail provider to get that working. And that, there are some pros and cons to it. The challenge with that is, if it's not a standard protocol or a standard that is defined by the industry. It is something that is pushed by Apple. And what happens when every one, like maybe Google might come up with something like that? Yeah, Google will have everything together in there. So some providers will support it, but there has to be a broader standard globally, or at least at a country level.
Good to know that works. Something. I mean,
all right, that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Thanks, Thomas. That was great.
Yeah.